shout out to Kobe Beach for that hot intro, and welcome to Real Talk with Traci Fant. Today's show is going to be phenomenal. Live in the studio, we have Marc Kerns, brother of the late Natasha Kerns, Emily Joy, mother of the late Emily-Anna Asbill, and motivational speaker and domestic abuse advocate, Miss Sabrina Greenlee. And what's up, Julie? My lovely co-host, Julie Lewis.
What's up, Traci? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good.
That's great. That's great. So you finally got moved?
Yes, finally got moved and almost got everything unpacked.
All right. It's almost a trilogy. It's almost like the moving trilogy movement.
Oh.
It's been like 3 weeks, right?
Yes, it's been the move from hell.
I bet. I'll be glad when you all finally get in there and get settled good and everything. Are you able to find your clothes yet?
Yes, I found them.
That's great. Can you find all your pots and pans?
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I moved in was the pots and pans.
And I'm sure Michael made sure that you could find those, right?
Well, I ain't cooked yet, but yeah, I might cook tonight.
All right. Well, you ready?
I'm ready.
Today's show is going to be, it's a show that's really close to my heart.
Mine too.
It's about domestic violence and abuse, and I, along with many other women that I know, have suffered domestic violence and abuse, and so it's very necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I know October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but not only that, I feel like awareness should be raised on this issue 365 days a year.
Especially in South Carolina.
Oh yeah, definitely, because we ranked second this time, which is the one up from last year, which was first in the nation. People always ask me, what can we do about it? I mean, what do you think? What can be done?
I don't know. I think it needs to start with the kids being young and just learn to keep your hands to yourself.
That's true. And also, learn that if somebody wants to leave, let them leave.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll come back, or maybe they just weren't meant to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
So many women are murdered because they decide to take that step. And also men also die by the hands of women. And so, it's not just, the topic is not only about women who suffer. However, of course, the statistics are higher because more women report it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are men that are abused. In fact, at work, I was talking to a guy, and he had abused, and he's like 6'3".
Really?
Yeah, 280 pounds. He said his wife was small, and he said she used to jump on him all the time. She had a drinking problem. And so it doesn't only stop, with women.
I think the men are probably more afraid to report it because they kind of people look down on them because you can't defend yourself against a woman. So
right. He was telling me that he was like, what do I look like calling the police? As big as I am, calling the police on a woman that's only 5 feet 4 inches tall. He said that he thought he could handle it in house, but eventually they separated.
Yeah,
and so that's a good thing. But like I said, I was in an abusive relationship. Have you ever been?
Yes, I was too.
Wow. And so, like I said, countless numbers of women that suffer from abuse. Today's show is dedicated to those women and also the women and men whose lives have been taken. A very dear friend of mine, someone I mentored, Natasha Kerns, she was murdered by her husband. And I remember everything that she went through leading up to her death. And so, her brother's here with us today, and we're going to introduce him in a minute. But first, we're going to listen to Natasha's voice.
You see what you see. I got a story to tell. Check me out.
Let's get it.
I viewed your profile. I was quite impressed. Seemed like my type, so I sent a friend request. I know they say things ain't always what they seem. Behind the internet, we all live in a dream. But I'ma take my chance and give this thing a try. Cause I'm feeling you, baby, I can't lie.
All right, that song was by Natasha Kerns. That was called Internet. And on July 10th, 2010, Natasha Kerns' life was cut short by her abusive, estranged husband. Although she was very vocal about the abuse that occurred in her life, protection for Natasha was not readily available. Natasha's life was not in vain. And it pleases me to introduce now her brother, Mr. Marc Kerns. What's up, Marcus?
Not much. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Long time no see. I hadn't seen you since the trial.
I'm doing okay. I'm making it.
That's great. So tell us about Natasha.
My sister, she was very friendly. She was very outgoing. She would help anybody, good or bad. She was just that type of person. I mean, that's how we were raised. Help people.
And she was, a great outspoken person. She was abused, but she didn't keep it a secret. She wasn't one of those types that went home and was battered and, didn't let other people know about it. She spoke out about it. She even put on Facebook, if you guys find me dead, my husband did it, point blank. And that was a couple of weeks before she was murdered. And I remember meeting with Willie and talking to him about it. And he swore up and down he wasn't going to do anything to hurt her. This was exactly 14 days to the day that she died.
Right.
And that right there, that was a phone call that I got that it felt like my world stopped. And so I know, just from me being her friend, I can just imagine, take us back to that day.
It just felt like a bad dream. I mean, I'll never forget it. I can't forget it. Because that was my best friend. And when I got the call saying, you need to get to the house, ASAP, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know whether it was going to be good or bad, but I was hoping for the best.
Right. And I know, Natasha, I know she was your only sister. And so, I know that she, you and her were close. You lived together and just everything. I mean, you guys shared a lot of great moments. And you also tried to intervene several times in her relationship with Willie.
I did.
And so, people were like, well, where are her family? But you guys did try to, take her forward. But he actually tracked her down.
He would follow her. When she think that he's not around, he's somewhere, he's parked off in the cut, watching to see what she's doing or who she's with,
right,
regardless of the fact that they're not even together.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I remember in court, in trial, we sat there that whole week, and the whole time I looked at him, he was just sitting there like he was watching a Lifetime movie. Like it was an outer body experience. Like it wasn't even him that did this terrible stuff. And then, even when they talked about the kids, he just seemed so numb. I mean, how did you feel just being in that courtroom? I mean, because he had actually requested that we didn't sit behind him. He was the request.
Right.
And they actually, to me, that right there showed that the laws need to be changed, because I felt like he was so protected at that time. I felt like, they gave him so much leniency and allowed him to voice his opinion about even how the trial went. Everything it seemed like was up to him. How'd you feel when we were sitting there in that courtroom and, praying that the outcome was what it was?
I felt that he was protected as well. A lot of things that was said was being taken back. Like, actual facts, they would just brush them off. You can't brush off the truth. The fact is she's gone, she's not here, and you did it.
Yeah. When they brought her son, because she had two children, when they brought her son in, and one of the jurors got very emotional. You remember that juror? She asked to be dismissed, actually, because she didn't realize that she knew her son. They lived right down the street from her.
Yeah, I remember.
And, yeah, she was just like, I have to be dismissed from this case because, I know this little boy and I know this family. But she was just, the jury was just so tore up. And when they showed the pictures and everything, that was like the first time I went through something like that. But, I was determined to be there for you guys. Your mom passed, but before she passed, I made a promise, what I'm saying, that Natasha's voice that we would carry on her memory. So moving forward, I mean, what do you want people to know? Not only about your sister, but even people that's in abusive relationships, or even people that are abusing people.
I just want people to know that, I mean, if the person don't want to be with you and it's a dead-end relationship, move on. Because if you don't, you wind up not only hurting the family, it's more than that, it's bigger than that. You got kids involved, best friends. Just let it go.
Yeah. And I wish, I'm telling you, I was in Charleston, I believe, when I found out J.J. Solomon had called me. He texted me first. It was like early in the morning, like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I was like, why is he texting me so early?
Right.
And then he called me. He was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm not in town. He was like, are you sitting down? I said, what's going on? He said, well, have you heard from Natasha? And I said, well, I just messaged her on Facebook like the night before, because her Facebook status update said that she was happy. She was watching a movie, and she said, God always has a lamb in the bush. And I will never, ever forget that status update. Then 2 hours later, she was gone. And just, like I said, just sitting in the courtroom and watching him, and the way he just seemed like he was so nonchalant about it. Even his final statements to the family.
Right.
The way he looked at her dad, and he was just like, that's
Things
life.
happen,
Yeah. He was like, that's just life. Things happen.
Yeah, like, suck it up and get over it.
Exactly. But the judge found him guilty, or the jury found him guilty, and do you remember the sentence?
Oh, yeah, I'll never forget the sentence.
Tell us what he was sentenced with.
He got 40 years plus life.
That's right. So, that right there, that sentence to me made a big statement. Because basically when he looked at her dad and he was like, that's life. And then when the judge, when she sentenced him, and she was like, that's life.
Right, without parole.
Without parole. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, we at least won that for Natasha. We at least won that. Because during the trial, they make the person seem like they're such a bad person. Oh, she was dating people. Oh, she was traveling, and she did this and did that. And so, I was granted the opportunity and to give the family statement. And I truly appreciate you for allowing me to do that, to talk to the judge. And after, while they were going through the sentencing phase, to give the statement for the family. And I was determined to give her life. I was determined to let them know that she was a phenomenal person. She went to American Idol, met Simon. She had so much going for her, and she was traveling, doing a lot of things. And only that, she was a college graduate.
All right.
She loved her children. And basically, she was just ready. She was ready to fight, win, lose, or draw. She was ready. So, I truly appreciate you for coming in. Julie, you got something?
Well, yeah, Marcus, I know you were giving some advice earlier, but is there anything you can give to any siblings to try to prevent this? I was in a situation where my sister would say, are you okay? And I would say, yeah, I was okay, but I really wasn't okay. Is there anything, looking back now, that you think you could have done differently?
Well, as far as
Trying to help her get out of this situation.
you can try and you can try and you can try, but it all depends on the individual and their actions. My mom told my sister not to go to that house that night. She went anyway. Now she's gone. If your family's reaching out, take their hand. Listen. It's better to be here than have your family crying over you.
That's true. And, after Natasha's death, I think that a lot of people in the local hip-hop community and local R&B community, I think that it allowed them to also see the effects of domestic violence, because just like when it happens in the celebrity realm, it doesn't hit home until it happens to one of them.
Right.
And then that's when the newspapers and everything make a big deal out of it. But one thing I can say is that when Natasha was murdered, the news and everyone, they covered it great. They really did. Everyone from James, the Bobo and Community Informer, to Channel 7, Channel 4. They came to the funeral. They did a lot as far as that type. But my thing is, when are we going to do something before that happens, before the funeral? You know what I'm saying? Before we're laying people to rest, before, we're having funerals and candlelight vigils and all that stuff. We need to really concentrate on how we can help the victims. But first, like Julie said, or like you said, they have to want to help themselves. And that's one thing that I learned in this fight. The jury the person has to want to help themselves. I've helped a lot of women that were in abusive relationships, and 10, 12, 15 days later, they're back with the person. And I'm just like, wow, when does it end?
Right.
Well, it ends when we want it to end. When you decide in your mind that enough is enough, and truly enough is truly enough. I can't take this anymore. I'm not going to take my kids through this. I'm not going through this anymore. When you decide to take that step, that's the first step to the rest of your life. When I decided to take that step in my relationship, me and my kids didn't have anywhere to live. My house had just burned down. I didn't have anything, but I was determined, because I prayed to God that He changed something in my life. I prayed to God that He renewed that. And when my house burned down, when we lost everything, I looked at that as an opportunity for renewal. A lot of people don't get that opportunity. A lot of times, you have signs right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Signs. But then you're always like, okay, I'm gonna give him another chance. He's trying. He's doing better. The first time somebody calls you out your name, you got to check them. The first time somebody does something that you wouldn't accept from one of your girlfriends, you got to check them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The first time they put their hands on you, man, you need to leave. You call the police. You got to show somebody, and that's male or female, that you're serious about this. Because when it gets to the point where, as far as Willie was concerned, he already had issues before in the past that Natasha didn't know about, right, because he was so much older than her. That's another thing. The guy that I was with, he was a lot older than me. I didn't know anything about his past either. But I ran into a woman at a gas station, and she asked me, she said, what are you doing with him? And I said, oh, we date or whatever. And she was a friend of my mother's. She said, you need to call me. We need to talk. And I never did call her because he told me not to call her. He was like, don't call her. She ain't going to do nothing but tell lies. But she was going to, you know what I'm saying? She was going to give me the scoop.
And see, that's the thing, too, that I think that people need to speak out more about. If you know that this is your family member or just whatever, if you know he's abusive, you need to speak up and tell that person. Exactly. Don't let him go in it blind like that.
So, Marcus, in closing, you got anything else you want to tell everyone?
Yeah. Just be mindful of the person that you date. Whenever they do show out on you, they showing you who they really are. That is a common statement. Take it for what it is. If you see that it's not right, move on. Don't try to think that you can fix it or y'all can work it out. It's not going to happen. It's only going to end up worse on your end.
That's right. And I also tell people, if you decide to stay, man, get counseling. You know what I'm saying? Counseling. And I'm not talking about from a pastor. I'm not talking about from your pastor or his pastor or whatever. I'm saying really seek help from a professional that's non-biased that can say, look, this person has some deep-seated issues that need to be resolved before you move on with this person. It's all about breaking the cycle. And breaking the cycle starts with efforts of what we're doing. It's unfortunate that Natasha's life was taken. It's unfortunate that we lost such a great person. But the great part of it is we have a platform that we can speak out against it on, and we can continue to keep her name alive. We can continue to do these things. So, Marcus, I truly appreciate you being on the show. This is a serious topic, isn't it, Julie? Julie over there crying, man. You gonna make me cry.
I'm trying to be strong.
Man, stop crying. Marcus, on this show we give shout-outs. Give us some shout-outs.
Just want to give a shout-out to my family and friends. A shout-out to my niece and nephew, Jakari and Jadens. That's about it.
How are the kids doing?
They're doing pretty good.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Marcus, for being on Real Talk with Traci Fant. And that's Real Talk.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the show. Like I said, this is a very heavy topic. It's very serious today, y'all. We kind of, October is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and so we're touching on some very touchy subjects. But this right here is something that needs to be spoken about. We need to continue because, as I said, it's not only 1 month. It's not only 30 or 31 days that this thing happens. This is a 365, 24/7 deal that women and men go through. Domestic abuse is real and it's serious, and we really need to, as a state of South Carolina, we really need to get some control over it. 6 people were charged after 19-year-old Emily-Anna Asbill was strangled to death by her 29-year-old boyfriend. Michael Beatty Jr. showed up to his stepfather's home with Asbill unconscious in his car. His stepdad called 911, but Emily would be pronounced dead at the hospital. The Lawrence County Coroner's Office says Asbill died of asphyxiation due to strangulation. Michael Beatty had an on-again, off-again relationship with Emily Asbill, who was also the daughter of a South Carolina law enforcement agent. Police would learn that earlier that night, Emily accompanied Beatty and 30-year-old William Alexander to a party where the adults there supplied them with alcohol and drugs. After leaving the party, the group actually drove around for about an hour and then ended up at Michael's stepfather's house where Emily was unconscious. There have been no details as far as what happened between that time. However, police did charge Michael Beatty with Emily Asbill's murder and charged Alexander with accessory after the fact for trying to cover up the crime. Now, it pleases me to welcome Emily's mom, Miss Emily Joy.
Thank you, Traci.
Thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Like I said, this is a very heavy subject, very touchy. You see my co-host over there crying. She about to make me cry. You know, I'm a crybaby, really. I'm trying to, just keep it together. Tell us about Emily.
Emily-Anna was vibrant. She loved people. She spent 19 years helping people. And she could walk into a room of 100 people and find the one that was hurting the most and try to help them. She had just finished up her first year here at Greenville Technical College. She volunteered here in Greenville at Carolina Loving Hound Rescue, and she was living in Greenville at the time.
Okay, and so she had already knew Michael and all that stuff, right? Because they had a on-again, off-again relationship.
That's correct.
Okay.
2 years.
Okay. So right now, we can't really talk about the case. We're not going to talk about the case because we're still going through all the motions and everything. However, you are doing things to keep your daughter's memory alive. You have a very, very great program. And you just recently had a fundraiser as well, right?
Yes. After the 5 people who were murdered in Greenwood, South Carolina, a guy named Dwayne Moore, he's a songwriter, wrote a song. It's called Lies and Bruises. I met him and 4 other people. We all got together and we formed a team called No More Lies and Bruises. We raised $17,000 last March for Meg's house in Greenwood, South Carolina. And just this past Friday night, we had an event at the Clinton House Plantation in Clinton, South Carolina. And we don't have our totals yet, but it was phenomenal.
Wow, and I had the pleasure of attending your first one last year, and it was great. It was great.
Thank you.
Just the whole event, and it was also, heartwarming. And the way the entire community came out and supported it, that spoke volumes to the necessity of us keeping this going. This is an actual movement that not only ThinkTwice.org, not only your organization, but many organizations are working on, and we have to work together and pull together to keep this thing going.
Yes. Dwayne Moore being a songwriter for country music artists in Nashville, Tennessee. There was one artist, Ryan Daniel, has picked up the song, and his album's going to be released in December, and the name of it's Lies and Bruises. He will be singing that. But No More Lies and Bruises now, we're going statewide and nationwide with this, and we're working in Columbia on the General Assembly floor on law change, because we need law change to CDV, and we need law change to the murder law.
Exactly. And as I said, when I opened, we're second in the nation. You know what I'm saying? We're second out of how many states? How many states are in the union? Like 50 something?
51, right?
51? 51, 52, 56, I don't know. It's a lot of states in the union, but we're second. And we're nowhere near even the largest state.
Right.
How can we be second in the nation and people like Governor Haley, who is a female, I ain't trying to put her on blast, but she's a female. You know what I'm saying? When we got a female governor, I just knew some things were about to change. And it just seems like it's getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So So, where does it end? Where does it begin? What do we need to do from your aspect, from your mindset?
Well, the first thing, the past 10 years, South Carolina has been in the top 3 of murder, men killing women. Now there's been a task force put together down in Columbia that No More Lies and Bruises will be attending because they have finally realized, okay, we got to do something about that. And it was from a 7-day series of the Post-Incuria in Charleston, South Carolina.
But my thing is, what made them finally realize that somebody important, what they classify as important, did their family member get murdered, or what? I wonder what happened to make them say, hey, we better pay attention to this thing, because in the past 10 years we have been in the top 7, like you said, the past 5 years in the top 3. So maybe we need to pay. It seems like year number 1 should have got them to say, you know what, we need to do something about this. Maybe year number 2, maybe even year number 3. But we're talking about 10 years of statistics. They're looking at this stuff like this is just numbers. These are people we're talking about. These are actual lives that are being lost. Last year we did a thing at the Reedy Falls, and it was similar to what they did in Columbia. And we had the statuettes up, and just look at even some of the news guys and some of the people that came, they said, wow, I didn't realize it was so many until you put a name to that number, until you put a face with that number. See, the number 36, they may not, it's only 36. 47, it's only 47. But put a picture and a face with that. You know what I'm saying? And then include all the children and include everyone in the community that loved that person, that cared about that person. Because besides the fact that the person that murdered the person was so selfish, they were selfish enough to take that person's life, because in their mindset it's just him and them, him and her, or her and him, or whatever. Think about all the people that loved that person. They had a mother, they had aunts, they had grandparents, they had uncles, they had siblings, nieces and nephews and cousins, and then people in the community, and then people they went to school with. Think of how many people that affects. It makes me wonder, how can someone be so selfish? I know you as a mother, because I have a daughter. I only have one daughter. I have 3 sons, and God knows I don't know what I would do if I lost any of my children. But as a mother, what do you do? There's no comfort.
No. Every day it takes everything that I've got to put my feet on the floor and get ready. And when I do, Satan says, oh my gosh, here she comes. Because I'm not going to stop fighting in the name of Emily-Anna Asbill and all these other victims until I take my last breath.
Well, I truly appreciate you and your will to fight. Because, there are so many mothers that don't know what to do. So many fathers that are grieving. So many families that are grieving. And they don't know what to do after they lose a child. And I said yesterday, I spoke at a vigil yesterday, and I said it's so unfair, because there's no name for that. There's no name for a parent that loses a child. If you're a spouse and your spouse dies, you're a widow or a widower. Or if you're a child and your parent dies, you're an orphan. But what do you call a parent whose child is murdered? Because it seems like it shouldn't happen.
There's not even a book that you can write on a parent losing a child. This is the worst nightmare that anybody could go through. And God just gives me strength every day, because I want to fight for other women. And Emily-Anna would have spent her life fighting for other victims in this state.
And I thank God that He gives you strength. I thank God for you and your strength. And also, just like I said, when I went to trial with Natasha, with her family, they take the life out of them. The victim is like, oh, they were the worst person in the world. Let's tear this person apart to give this person the reason. Let's give this person a rhyme or reason. Let's say he murdered her because she was dating people. She decided to continue her life. Oh, that's so unfair to him. What gives her the nerve to do that? You know what I'm saying? That's just how it was in the courtroom. It was just like, let's beat the victim down. And her dad, before I spoke on the family's behalf, when he hugged me, he just told me, he said, just do your best you can do. All the life was sucked out of me from sitting there. Because that was just like, Natasha, she would call me and just ask me for my advice on anything. And she would listen to me. So I'm thinking to myself, 10 days before he killed her, because like I say, 14 days before that happened, I talked to him. But 10 days before that, she called me. And she was screaming and crying on the phone. And she said, I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for him to come through this door with this gun. And I said, Natasha, think about your children. That right there is a conversation that I regretted for a long time, because I gave her some advice and she took it. I wish I'd have said, pull the trigger. Because 10 days after that, he took her life. He busted through a window. I mean, he in front of her children, it's like he did not care.
It's unacceptable. I can say this, Traci.
It's crazy.
The man that was arrested for the murder of my daughter has been incarcerated for 17 months. And 2 Fridays ago, he comes up for another bond, and he's released.
That's unbelievable. When I saw that, when I shared that story on Facebook, I said, I had it in caps, this is my friend's daughter. This man killed my friend's daughter. And he is out on bond. $100,000 bond, which means they only had to put up $10,000, and they probably didn't even have to put that much up. And now he's free to walk around and do whatever. I guess he has like an ankle bracelet.
He has a GPS.
And he doesn't even live, he only lives blocks away from her.
3 blocks.
Come on, how insensitive are the laws to our victims? I can just go on and on and on and on about this. It's crazy. When does it stop? When does it stop?
It felt like EA died all over again that day.
I bet.
I know you can't really be specific about the case, but was abuse in the relationship before? Or you can't answer that?
I'm not able to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, though.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll all come out. It'll all come out in the wash, because there's a lot to this case that will come out. And
when is trial? When is it supposed to be on trial?
January 26th.
Right. Because he gets to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas with his family and New Year's.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So he gets to eat turkey and get gifts and stuff. Yeah. And then celebrate with fireworks when the New Year's come in. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, Emily, thank you so much for being here, traveling, because you're from Clinton.
Yes,
Thank you for making the trip to come in on the show and discuss this and discuss your daughter on this very, very important topic. I'm going to have you back on. I got to have you back on, especially after the trial and everything. I hope justice is served in her case.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Traci. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And on this show, we give shout-outs. Did you have anything else, Julie? On this show, we give shout-outs. You got anybody you want to give some shout-outs to?
I want to shout out to Team No More Lies and Bruises. Dwayne Moore, Lisa and Prevo Rogers, Carla Gray, Josh Owens, Ryan Daniel. Thank y'all all so much for everything y'all do for me.
Wow, that's great. And shout out to you and shout out to Marcus as well for coming in and sharing your stories. I know it's hard. You know what I'm saying? I know it's hard. I can't imagine the depths of your pain. Just being a parent. I can't imagine, the depths of your pain. So all I can do is say that we're going to continue to pray for you and continue to pray for justice for Emily and just for everyone involved in this.
Thank you so much, Traci. I appreciate all y'all love and support and prayers.
Well, thank you so much. And we're going to go into the sponsorships right quick. Thank you so much, like I said, Emily. And just let me know if there's anything I can do. Anything I can do, any way I can help you. Let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on Real Talk with Traci Fant. And that's Real Talk.
Shout out to our sponsors this week is ThinkTwice.org, a nonprofit organization based in Greenville, South Carolina, based on spreading awareness of issues of bullying, dating, abuse, and teen violence. Also, fantastic lawn care, pressure, and cleaning. If you need your lawn maintained or your home or business pressure cleaned, please call Jeff at 864-787-1204.
All right, and like Julie said, if you need your lawn taken care of, you need your house pressure washed, call Jeff Fant. He's my husband. I'm biased, but he's a really good guy, and he will get the job done. I'm telling you, he will get the job done. And also, if you want to become a sponsor of this show, if you want to run an ad, or if you want your business to be announced on the show, just contact me, Traci Fant, at 864-325-3592. And again, that's Traci Fant, 864-325-3592. And also, thinktwice.org, fantastic, is a fantastic organization, nonprofit organization in this community. Trying to fight injustice, trying to fight bullying, domestic abuse, so many different things on our plate right now. So many things that we're trying to not only raise awareness, not only keep the awareness going, but let's come up with some answers. You know, what type of conclusion can we come up with? What can we do to help victims of domestic violence? What can we do to help the many that are suffering by the hands of their abusers? What can we do? I mean, Julie, you know, like I said, you've been over there, man. You've been tore up. What's going on in your mind, Julie? What are you thinking about right now?
I just really hope that things change for people and that there's no more lives lost. And I'm just thankful that I was covered and protected because I went through it. And, you know, I took my family through this whole situation. And eventually I got out of it. I had to make up my mind that I wanted out. And that's how I got out.
And like I tell people all the time, just because someone's not hitting you doesn't mean you're not being abused. There's so many levels to this. You know, there's so many levels to abuse. You got physical, verbal, mental abuse and verbal abuse, man. They'll tear you down quicker than anything.
That's right.
So, you know, I just really, like I said, I'm keeping everyone in prayer, really. And I too am glad that I finally got out of the relationship I was in as well. So I'm getting ready to introduce our next guest because, you know, she's a phenomenal woman. She is phenomenal with a capital PH, or you can put an F on it. You know what I'm saying? Depends on how your phonics game is going.
Yeah, put an F on it.
Put an F on it. She's phenomenal. Sabrina Greenlee. And let me share a part of her story with you guys because a lot of people may say, who is this Sabrina Greenlee? Well, let me share this with you. Sabrina Greenlee had just found her boyfriend at the home of another woman on a July day in 2002. Her name was called Sabrina Turn and Whoosh. The boiling chemicals, a mixture of lye and bleach that had reached 400 degrees Fahrenheit, seared her body. She fell to the ground, the skin rapidly peeling off her face, neck, and back. The cheating boyfriend picked her up, put her in a car, and dropped her off at a nearby gas station and left her at the gas, and he dropped her off. The station's attendant locked the doors and called an ambulance, which took Sabrina to a local hospital. From there, she was flown to a medical center in Augusta, Georgia, where she spent 3 weeks in a medically induced coma while doctors patched her face with skin grafts. Today, she is blind in her right eye with 60% sight in her eye left. Wait a minute. Okay, she's blind in her right eye with 60% sight in her left eye. Okay, my bad. Savannah Grant, the woman who hurled the mixture on her, pleaded guilty to assault and battery with intent to kill and was sentenced to 20 years in the penitentiary, where she has remained since 2003. And I'm just basing that on court documents. But anyway, it pleases me to introduce Miss Sabrina Greenlee.
Thank you, Traci, for having me.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. So I had to share that part of your story because I just truly appreciate your walk. You know, I truly appreciate it. Like I said, I didn't know your story until I saw you on a special that Mr. Cogdale did, and he did an awesome job with that. But just share with us your mindset at the time when you were going through that. Was it hate? Like what was your mindset at the time?
It was definitely jealousy. I'd only been dating this young man a couple of months, just like every other girl. You meet somebody and you go out on a couple of dates, and you know, you listen to the lies, and you know, he said he didn't have a girlfriend, so I believed him. It was only up until actually after I got out of the hospital and years later that I even knew who did this to me, because of course when I got out I couldn't see. I was blind for almost 4 years after that. It got into my eyes. But just going back, and my mindset was that everybody around me thought I was pretty, I was beautiful, but I felt ugly inside. My self-esteem was really low, and so I was very vulnerable at the time, and I kind of just kind of believed everything he told me, and it was all a bunch of lies. But as I look back, I think it was a lot of warning signs. The phone ring, he's in the shower, and phone ring again and again, and then next thing you know, it's like 50 times. Gets out, answers, oh, that's my mama, So there's a lot of warning signs that I just ignored because I was just in a bad place at the time, and I kind of wanted somebody to love me.
Wow, that's deep, because I think that we've all been in that place where we just wanted to be loved, feel loved and accepted. As I said, I know when I went through what I went through, it didn't get as bad as a lot of people, but then again, any type of abuse is bad. It tore down my self-esteem, but not only that, it affected my children. You have a very phenomenal son, however, and so how did you come back, like, from that, like, and raise such a phenomenal football player son who's a great guy, great young man?
I've seen circles and circles of abuse. Almost, even when I was 16 years old, I was getting black eyes. I was just kind of like, so I've been on all spectrums of domestic abuse. I was actually been beaten, put in the hospital. I married my abuser, had kids. My brother went to Clemson, went on to Indianapolis Colts. He was killed by police. He came in. It was a domestic dispute. Shot him, his wife, and the baby. He shot him twice in the heart. So when I speak on domestic violence and when I speak on surviving, I've been on all spectrums. I've been beaten. I saw my brother get killed. Well, I had to deal with my mother and my father with burying my brother, and then of course I had an attack on my life, and so I'm gonna get to the thing with my son. But domestic abuse, they consider it domestic abuse even though a woman did this to me, because I was going with a guy, and so domestic, the whole circle, me, him, and her. So I've just, all that together, Traci, just made a strong combination of a woman that had to fight. And when I say I've had to fight for my life, I feel like I've literally had to fight for my life. And being at home and laying in the bed and being totally blind, and your little 4-year-old walks up to you saying, "Mom, I'm hungry," and you can't even go in to feed her nothing to eat. And this woman and these men are walking around and everybody is fine, and you're sitting up there and the whole world has come to a stop. Oh, you'll fight. And so I like I said, I grew, I learned, and I got, through the grace of God, I just found strength. And I knew that I had to get up one day. I had to fight. And I didn't know what the medical team was going to do. I didn't know what they was going to do with my eyes, but I knew that if I was going to be blind, I was going to be the best blind mama that I could be. And I made that determination a long time ago. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. Well, they still gonna have curfew, and they still going to. So DeAndre, he tells people, he was like, man, she was blind, but we still had to be in the house by 9:00. She ain't play. So I told my kids a long time ago that you will never ever be able to look at somebody and tell them that what happened to your mother caused you not to make it.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep right there.
So I did everything I could for them to set the bar high. We prayed, we talked, we had meetings. I couldn't even see. I was going to games, people leading me in. I mean, it was a lot of things. I look back and I'm like, man, I don't know. I knew people was looking at me. I can't believe I went in there like that,
Wow.
But it was a lot of good friends, a lot of prayer partners. I have two of my best friends out there now that prayed with me, came and got on their knees and cried and prayed and with the kids and held my hand and just, was just tenacious in this battle with me.
And that's deep right there. When you have a circle of friends, when you have good friends that just show up, you know what I'm saying, and stand in the gap and pray for you.
It's like I just, y'all, can I not be depressed? Like, leave me alone. They won't let me.
I'm telling you, I got some friends like that. They're here in the studio, so
they will not let you. They won't let you be down. It's like
Freeman,
so.
Wanda Williams.
Yeah, but it just You know, when I speak, I said, you know, he didn't just happen to pop into the NFL.
Right,
He had a praying mother,
I know that's
a
right.
strong mother.
Because, you know, a lot of kids can throw a football and catch a football. So there had to be some phenomenal push behind that. So let me ask you this, and it's personal, but when you first found out you were blind, did they say you will never be able to see again? Did they say there's a chance, or, you know what I'm saying?
No, actually, and I haven't told, this is the first time I'm going to tell this story. All my friends and all my family know. They called the family in as if somebody was dying, which I wasn't. But they called them in to have a meeting to tell them that they wanted to surgically close my eyes. None of my families knew what that meant. They said, well, we have this doctor, Dr. Moses. So as soon as my mom and dad heard Moses, they thought, oh, God, this is a savior. You know, he's going to come in. But they were actually saying the opposite. They told my mother, my father, all my kinfolks, they came in from all over, and they said that if we don't surgically close her eyes, then her eyes will turn to mush. There is 100% chance that she will never see again.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious.
But God.
And my father, my mother, especially my father, he said no. He said, no, we'll get a second opinion. So we left there that day. After they released me, I was blind and bruised and battered, and my face was like stuck out. And my daddy, he said we're gonna get a second opinion, and we left there that day and went and made an appointment at another doctor that just came in town. And we went on home not knowing, and just so happened he got the call, and we went back to Augusta, and the man said, I'm willing to do everything I can to get her some sight. And I was under his care for almost 4 years until I got some sight.
So was it like different surgeries, or?
A lot of surgeries, a lot of eye surgeries. I mean, they pretty much had the chemicals had turned my eyeballs white. They had, like, it was, I can't describe it. They said it was kind of like dents in my eyeball. So what they had to do was they had to take skin grafts and just kind of start from scratch and mold an eyeball.
Wow.
So it took years to even get the eyeball to where it looked like an eyeball. Then they had this, so what I have in now is two, what they call K-Pros. They're prosthetic corneas. So the corneas that you see in my eyes are plastic. They're man-made.
Did they take all this into consideration when they sentenced the girl that did this? That they, you know, all the pain and suffering you went through, was that included with the
actually, somehow there was a mix-up in Greenville County, and so they only charged her with assault and battery with intent to kill. It should have been attempted murder, but what they said was that somewhere there was a mix-up. They got a call saying that I went to the hospital and I was released. So for all this time that I was down there fighting for my life, the officers thought that I was at home resting with my kids. So they apologized to me in court a year later when she was sentenced, but they had no idea. They said they charged her with the wrong charge.
Well,
So none of that was taken in consideration.
Maybe they should have checked back with the family, or?
They never made a phone call. And I had an officer friend from Clemson at the time that took pictures and stayed on my case. Just a friend of the family, you know, like you were with your friend. Yeah. And she's like, I'm not going to let this go down like this. So she stayed on the solicitor and stayed on the prosecutors, and they had them in court a year later. But it was only, she came to my house and took pictures. That was the only pictures they had. Nobody called me. Nobody cared.
Wow, that's terrible, man. Everybody in the studio like, oh my God, that's terrible. So DeAndre, like you say, he's a phenomenal football player. But who are your other children, right?
I have my oldest daughter. She's 26, Keisha. She lives in Texas with DeAndre, and she went on to get a BS degree in sports management. I'm proud of her for that. She'll be going back for her master's soon. I'm pushing her. And then I have a phenomenal 25-year-old son, Marcus Greenlee, whom I love. I think he's so articulate. He's just like his mother. Always smiling, always happy, and has a great spirit. Then I have a 16-year-old. She's a basketball player for Daniel, so I got my hands full.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Cool. I'm telling you, so like you said, I love that. Don't let what happened to me, don't ever use that as an excuse for you not.
That's right.
Wow.
I'll take that. I'll take that on me and put it on my shoulders. But you don't take that. Let mama handle that.
Yeah, I mean, that's her story is just making me feel good now. I'm going from one extreme to another
you stopped
extreme.
all that crying.
Yeah, because
I was worried
some
about you.
people going through your situation would just want to give up, and it appears that you didn't give up, and you would giving up was not even an option for you.
She's so pretty.
I have my days. Not too many people know. It's been 3 months now, but just 2 months ago, I had a hemorrhage in what I call the good eye, and I couldn't see anything for 2 months. I laid in the bed. All these women, they gathered around, they came and prayed for me and talked with me. So I went somewhere mentally about 3 months ago. So this is as soon as I could get up, like Joy said, as soon as I could get my feet up and get some sight, I was determined to make the devil mad all over again. You cannot stop me. I'm going to keep talking about this thing because this is serious and people are dying. I was just a breath away from dying. I flatlined twice on a helicopter ride to Augusta, so I can understand. When men do things to women and they're gone, you can't bring them back, and just not being able to get out. All of my teens and all of my 20s, I was just so caught up, and I was in the projects, and I was okay with being in the projects. I was getting beat, and I was content there. So I know what it's like not to want to leave. I was okay with where I was. I thought that's the best I could do.
And it's all about breaking the cycle.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you made a major comeback. I mean, you made a phenomenally major comeback, because how many people can say that I almost lost my life, and then I have these 4 children, and I'm just, everything about your story is just heart-wrenching. I'm telling you, it's touching. It's touching. I'm so glad Julie stopped crying. I'm glad she's about to start again.
Oh, God.
I have to keep a check on her. So anyway, and that's why I wanted you to mention your other children as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did a little research this time. Last time you was on the show, I was like, so who beat you up? He was like, no. So yeah, I did my research this time. So, I'm just so happy that you're a phenomenal. Woman, and you're willing to share your story with others. Just recently you shared your story. Well, you've been sharing it a lot recently, right?
A lot lately.
Yeah.
October, I've been in high demand in October.
Oh, yeah, I see, man. I was like, well, she was on my show. It wasn't in October. You know what I'm saying? That's why I gave myself a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you have any upcoming speaking engagements or anything? Or if people want to meet you or contact you?
I do. I'm headed to Myrtle Beach the first week in November, and then I'm headed to Alabama State the week after that. And basically, everybody just want to hear my story, and just kind of hear how the triumph and overcoming. And like I said, I have days when I get down, I just can't stay there. I allow myself an hour or 30 minutes or whatever, have my little pity party, but I get back up. And a lot of people don't realize what it takes for me to even get to these speaking engagements with one eye, and what I have to do to clean contacts and barely can see sometimes. But I'm just in it. I'm in it to win it, and I'm not gonna stop until I'm dead.
Well, I thank God for you, and I thank God that you're willing to share your story with so many. You are changing lives. You've changed my life just from being here today, and I'm sure you've changed a lot of our listeners' lives as well. And so if someone wants to contact you for a speaking engagement, what do they need to do?
You can call Shonda Richardson at 864-205-5733. Not only that, teen pregnancy, drunk drivers. I've had so many different things that I want to speak on, but domestic violence is my passion.
Right.
And every time I read, your thing on Facebook, it's just, it's never ending. It does not stop. So that just tells me that I'm in the right fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This thing is serious, and I speak on a lot of other topics, but my passion is domestic violence. But I'm willing to come speak and share my testimony and how I overcome.
Thank you so much. And you all have fun, too. I've been looking at your pictures on Facebook. You know, y'all travel, man. I said, me and Yolanda and Jackie, man, Julie, we need to step our game up.
I take the girls.
We need to book a Greyhound.
I take, okay.
I don't fly.
I get, well, you know, I had just got off of, like I said, 2-month bed rest.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, we got to go somewhere. So what perfect timing was to go and watch my son play. And so I took 5 or 6 girls,
Man,
and
y'all
we
did
just
it up.
limos. And I
Man,
want to talk about
on
that.
Facebook. Man, y'all did it. I was like, oh, man. Oh, never mind. I don't fly. I'd have had to drive to Texas.
Well, it was one of those things where, you know, I'm out here. Like I said, I'm not sitting around waiting on my son to hand me money or anything. I'm out here grinding and doing my own thing. So it's one of those things where I was like, you know, Mama been on bed rest for 2 months. So it was either that, or it was either ask for something or bring the girls. So I decided to share.
I'd have did both.
I put up this pity party. You know, I've been down for 2 months now. He's like, I know. What you want, Mama?
I know that's right. If any of my kids make it, I'm putting this disclosure out there right now. Any of y'all make it, y'all breaking bread. I'm gonna call y'all all the time, especially with Portia. I'm gonna be like, Portia.
105.7 FM, 9:10 a.m. The source for SpartanBrick.com is bringing the Upstate's finest business.
Yeah. So anyway, if one of my kids make it, they gonna break bread. But hey, on this show, Miss Greenlee, we give shout outs. First of all, I truly appreciate you for coming in. And secondly, I want you to give some shout outs.
I want to give a shout out to my father and my mother today. My father is a true definition of a man. He is the ultimate man. If I ever get married, if my husband is half the man that my father is, then I have a great man. And I want to give a shout out to my mother for standing and being there with me and just showing me support and love, and the things that they went through. I want to let them know that I thank you and I love you.
I would thank you so much, Miss Greenlee. Like I said, thank you so much for being in the studio with us today and sharing your story. And I look forward to hearing more about your story, and maybe we'll travel together.
Oh, let's do it. I'm ready.
I know that's But thank you so much for being on Real Talk with Traci Fant. And that's Real Talk. And we out, y'all.
It's Real Talk with Traci Fant.